welcome to our channel. Today I'm with Frank at a restaurant called Chinese Library in Hong Kong. And we have made many videos about food, fruits and nuts. However, in English there are many idioms about nuts, some formal, others informal. And the reason for learning idioms is that it makes our language more natural and fluent.
Yes, and they're a great way to summarize a big, complicated situation or feeling.
And also to make our conversation more lively, interesting, and have more images.
So today we're going to give you a list of the top 8 idioms with nuts.
Okay, let's do the first one. Hard nuts to crack or tough nuts to crack.
Yes, so here, this is where we're talking about a difficult problem. So if we have a difficult problem, for example, at work, if we're talking about a reduced budget, we can say, how are we going to do and finish this project? We're going to say, that's going to be a tough nut to crack, or that's going to be a hard nut to crack. So we use this when talking about difficult problems.
Or increase sales target.
Yeah, increase sales target, but with reduced budgets. That's going to be a hard nut to crack.
Yeah, something mission impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, difficult.
Okay, the second one is, he is a complete nutter. He is a nut job.
Right, so here, these are quite informal. Now, don't let your boss hear you saying these about him, because these are not very nice.
Or her.
Yeah, so if you say he or she is a complete nut job, you're saying that they're very silly or a very crazy person. It's the same if you say he's a nut job or he's a total nut job. Very informal to say that they're not very clever or they're a very silly person.
Don't say that to your boyfriend or girlfriend too.
Yeah, don't let them hear you ever say that.
You don't need trouble.
No.
Okay, number 3. Nature or nurture? That's old chestnut.
So when we say that old chestnut, chestnut means a problem which we often discuss but can never really find the answer. So this is normally used for very big problems, maybe philosophical problems that are very long discussions. And normally someone who is very sophisticated, someone who's likes reading lots of books, this is a phrase which they might say. So this is much more formal. So if you want to say, if you want to refer to a common problem which we can't solve, but we often discuss, then you can refer to it as, that old chestnut.
So can you give an example how people use that at work or in their daily life?
So some examples you might hear might be if women who work after having a baby, should they return to work or should they stay at home and become a housewife? Or maybe for men, should they continue to work or should they be allowed to have leave as a parent as well? Women can have paternity leave, why can't men?
Yeah.
So this is a common discussion which many companies are discussing but still haven't resolved yet.
That old chestnut.
Very good.
Okay, it's your turn. What is number 4?
Number 4, it's about nuts and bolts. I want to know all about the nuts and bolts. Now here, when we say nuts and bolts, here nuts, we're not talking about nuts for eating. Here we're talking about how we join metal together, how we join machines together and fix them together. But we're not actually talking about machines when we say nuts and bolts. Here we're talking about the details of how something works. So for example, we might use nuts and bolts for talking about the details of a project. How does it actually work? Or for example, if we're talking about a marketing strategy, what are all the details? I want to know all about the nuts and bolts for your marketing strategy or your marketing plan.
Sweet as a nut.
Okay, sweet as a nut. So this is quite informal. This is where you're talking about a situation which is very, very good. So if you've heard that your project has been approved or someone has done something nice for you, then you can say, sweet as a nut.
Salary increase?
Very sweet, yes, sweet as a nut. He's using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Now, if you say this, you're saying that someone is using far too much effort, far too much force to achieve a problem which is quite small. So something small, that's the nut. But if you use a sledgehammer is something very big and very, very heavy. So it's a special kind of hammer. But it doesn't make sense to use such a big, heavy hammer to solve such a small problem. It's just too much.
Yeah, waste resources to solve a small problem.
That's right. So you use this if you're saying that it's a waste of resources, too much effort to achieve something very small. We should do something else. Okay, now we're going to finish with some idioms about peanuts. Now, peanuts are quite interesting because they're very small and very cheap. So the idioms related to peanuts are often referring to something that's small and cheap. So the first one is...
It's peanuts.
So if you say it's peanuts, you're talking about something which is cheap. So for example, buying bananas, they're very cheap. So we could say, oh, they're peanuts, very cheap.
Okay, the second one is that job pays peanuts.
Okay, that job pays peanuts. So again, peanuts, very small, very cheap. So if you say a job pays peanuts, it means that the job doesn't pay very much.
That's not good.
Very low pay.
So you can buy second-hand books for peanuts.
That's right. You can buy second-hand books very cheaply. So we've covered 8 idioms about peanuts. And as you can see, they cover a wide range of meanings. Some might mean that something is cheap and small. Others mean that it's a difficult problem. Or it can mean that someone is crazy. Anyway, we hope that you've enjoyed listening to our explanations of peanuts and idioms about nuts. And maybe you'll try using them at work or in your life.
And leave us some comment if you have heard other idiom related to nuts.